Money FM 89.3, the best of the afternoon update. The afternoon update with Lin Li Fu.
Welcome to Industry Insight. AI infrastructure. Now, we hear about AI every day, but what makes AI actually work? The invisible backbone, compute clusters, GPUs, networking, data storage is what allows AI to scale. And Singapore, along with the broader Southeast Asia region, is stepping onto the world stage in this space. One company playing a major role, Nebius, a fast-scaling Nvidia-backed cloud and AI infrastructure startup now valued at $6 billion after a recent $700 million funding round. Joining us is Ranvish Vir, growth lead for Middle East and APAC at Nebius. Ranvish, thanks for being here.
Thank you for inviting us. It's a pleasure.
Now, Ranvish, first things first, AI infrastructure sounds like something hidden in the basement of a server room, but it's kind of the hottest topic in tech right now, isn't it?
Absolutely. And like one of my managers, CBO, Roman says, we are in the unsexy business of a sexy business. So AI is a hot property right now, but all the hard work is done around by the infrastructure.
What does the AI infrastructure landscape look like right now, especially in Southeast Asia?
Well, that's a very good question, right? I've been in the market for like more than 6 months now, traveling. Mm-hmm. The landscape is definitely changing. Like all the big giants are investing across data centers in Thailand, in Malaysia. I know Indonesia has some potential coming up and everything else. And similarly, Johor is becoming one of the hottest property there. So it's huge. I think it's a multi-billion-dollar business in the region already.
What are people talking about in this space, in this region?
Well, should we say the latest development or the previous one? Right now, major part of world population lives here. So there will be a lot of play when it comes to inference in the future in the region. But now with the infrastructure space, you can look at, people are talking about diffusion law, which brought by Biden administration before they left. So that's one of the topics of conversation. But apart from that, we're also looking at the ecosystem is developing in the region. So these are the two things which are the hot topics at this point in time.
And I can imagine we're seeing demand for GPUs skyrocket. And in Southeast Asia especially, there's this urgent need to build capacity fast, right?
Absolutely. So there is a gap in the region compared to the West, right? When I say West, it's again around US focus. So as a result, there is a hunger in the region to get the latest GPUs. You can see Nvidia also promoting sovereign cloud from the nation's perspective. So there is definitely some gap, and we expect the business, as you can read in a lot of articles here, is right that around 60 billion will be invested in the future in the AI infrastructure space. So yes, there's a gap, but there's also a gap in a lot of other things right now when it comes to ecosystem and so on. So we are working at Nebius. We are trying to work on the whole life cycle of AI rather than just an infra, but we're also trying to create the ecosystem.
So Nebius, for folks who haven't heard the name yet, give us the quick pitch.
Well, Nebius is the latest AI infrastructure player in the market. We have a history coming from Yandex, but then we have sold off those business, and now we are a Nasdaq listed company who invests in AI infrastructure in Europe, but we also have data centers in the US, and we are looking at potential expansion in Southeast Asia.
So you've designed your stack like from ground up, or?
Absolutely. So one of the thing about AI infrastructure is there are a lot of players nowadays called neo clouds, but it is because it's easier to build up a data center. But what Nebius has done is because of our engineering power, which we have around roughly 1,000 plus engineers, we have built our own hardware and software stack. That means we have procured a lot of hardware from different manufacturers with NVIDIA GPUs being in the center, and which helps us to build a stack which is very much NVIDIA reference architecture, but our own investments done from a hardware perspective. And similarly, we have our own software stack, which is the orchestration layers on the top. So if you look at the latest report from SemiAnalysis about clusters, AI clusters, and how easy it is to spin off the machines, I hope your audience understands that. We have won the Gold Award, and we are just like less than 1 year into this space with our new IP, which is again a proud moment for us. And this is also helping us to optimize the cost and which is, again, will come into the play, which could be very important in the region compared to what I have seen in the last 6 months.
Wow. So let's talk about the big news. You were mentioning that $700 million have been raised so far, Nvidia in the mix. That's serious validation. So beyond Nvidia, what's happening?
Well, beyond NVIDIA, what we are looking at, we are working with NVIDIA together. They will always be our partners, and we are working together to look at the inference space and how we will enable enterprises in the region to make sure the implementation of AI takes place. Because as you understand from the DeepSeek moment, there has been a conversation around enterprise using the AI, how AI is more far-reaching, I would say, compared to what it was before that. As a result, we are developing use cases around enterprises to make sure the adoption happens faster. So we have another platform called AI Studio, apart from the cloud, which helps model builders to build models. They get access to different large language models. So our impact is looking at not only just 2025, but even beyond, is how are we going to improve the inferencing services in the region, not only in the region, but globally. As you could hear from Jensen Young's keynote, it's all about inference tokens, which is the future. And we are working on that future together with NVIDIA.
I see. So NVIDIA is more than just the financial investors. And rightfully so. I think investors are seeing the infrastructure layer as the next AI breakout story, isn't it?
Absolutely. So let's look at the point where, also Singapore government is looking at Smart Nations 2.0 policy, which focuses on AI and building resilience, right? So to do that, adoption is the most important part. I know AI has been more research focused on developing better models, reasoning, benchmarks, but how does it translate into real life, right? If you look at enterprises, many use cases are mere, a chatbot kind of feature, but we need to start educating, creating that ecosystem, and that's where Nebius in last 6 months or 7, I have been traveling in the region, and I see that, okay, this is the best region to take that AI models and actually translate into ROIs. Because definitely I've been talking to VCs, I've been talking to enterprises, I've been talking to research labs. The ultimate goal is saying, okay, where's the adoption? How is it going to happen? And I see especially the Southeast Asia region to actually be one of the fastest moving when it comes to adoption because of the concentrated population as well as areas and more population. So I think the inference layer is going to be the biggest player coming up now.
Indeed. And speaking of which, you are making your debut in Singapore as we speak.
Yes. So we are this week in GITEX Asia. We will be presenting like more than 2 hours of talk time where we're talking about from a total cost of ownership of developing a model to we'll be presenting our platform demos. And we'll be meeting a lot of key players in the region as well as government agencies and so on. So as a result, yes, this will be a big launch of understanding who Nebius is and what are they bringing to the region. And our main focus, if you see, it'll be around AI startups, creating those ecosystems, startup programs. So there will be a lot happening in the coming 3 days for us.
Yes, indeed. I think Singapore is a potential hub with so many startups and increasingly AI-hungry enterprises as well. But they hit a wall when it comes to compute. So that's where you guys come in.
What I have learned is over the last 6 months is that, yes, although there's a lot of talk around Singapore and the CR region, when it comes to compute, the best compute availability for startups, I will not term it as big AI labs here. When it comes to local startups and everything, there is definitely a challenge. We are still talking about older versions of CPUs, V100s, A100s. We're talking of pricing, which are very expensive. When I say the quality, what you get to that, right? The value of money. And although there are a lot of NCPs or NVIDIA cloud partners available, but the real challenge here is that when it comes to the latest GPUs and an ecosystem around the startup, there has been a challenge. I can see that when it comes to infra, not only that, talent, many times because there's not enough VC funds available compared to the US. Talent does move out. So how does that ecosystem work? That's what Nebius is focused on how to improve that ecosystem by providing the best infra, the most competitive pricing possible. Because of, like you said, we build everything ground up, so we can actually do it. We are not cheap, but we are cost optimized as well as we can do it because we have an engineering strength which has made the total cost of ownership cheaper.
Absolutely, Ranvish. The AI boom isn't just about GPUs, it's also about human capital. What roles are emerging in this space?
So when the roles are emerging, obviously there are data scientists, there are researchers, there are ML scientists and so on. This is a very obvious role, deep tech scientists, which has been needed. I have spoken to a lot of startup guys and they are there. There are researchers, but many of them actually kind of, migrate towards a better pasture because of the availability of funds, resources, and so on. So when it comes to role, there are great co-founders here, amazing knowledge. But when it comes to them fulfilling their wishes, I think the financial ecosystem is not there, as well as, the hunger to be the best in the world when it comes to even models, is something we are looking into is how are this role going to be staying in the region rather than, migrating to places where they get better chances.
Wonderful. All right, Ranvish, let's hit on sustainability. AI, it burns a ton of energy. What's Nebius doing to keep it green?
Wow, that's a very good question, I believe, because it's a hot topic, but no one talks too much about it also. Well, from a Nebius perspective, like currently our data centers are mostly, when we develop, we look around, how we can sustain not just from a greenhouse gases perspective, but also from the local community, how we can help. So, for example, with our Mansala, Finland data center, what we are doing is whatever heat we generate, we actually help the nearby village to heat their houses. I don't know the exact number of houses, but that seems to be a lot there. So one of the things we do from that perspective, and which is a new world of chips coming in, liquid cooling is something which we are looking into and everything else, which also takes a lot of natural resources. So we are always whenever we build a technology, the first thing we are looking at it is, how are we going to develop it around making it more sustainable, environment friendly as much as possible, in today's world. So we are always going to look for that. And we can give you more details when you meet us at the event and we can talk about this.
And in a place like Singapore where space and energy are finite, I think that's really critical. Okay, looking ahead, what's next for Nebius in Asia?
Well, what's next is a very good question and it's a very broad question, right? For me, if I tell you from my perspective, for Nebius, it is about creating this ecosystem at this point of time. A startup ecosystem where you have access to the best GPUs, where you have knowledge sharing from the best minds around the globe as well as in the region. One of the examples I can give you is Sea Lion, great project, started amazing. I've been following it for the last 2 years because of a different business unit I used to work before in the data side, and great capabilities because of cultural nuances we have in the region as well as big differences. But it didn't kick off, in the benchmark side. We are still talking about in 2026, there could be a multi-model coming in, whereas we are already into the reasoning. So me or as an Nebius, we would like to help that program to develop further. So this could be one of the examples of creating that ecosystem of quality hardware, great minds coming together to make sure we can develop something in the region. So this is a thing. We are going to launch our startup program, which also includes Nvidia's Inception program together in GITEX this week. So that's another ecosystem player we are going to do about it. And we are going to talk about how, giving free credits doesn't mean that you are getting the best and the latest and the best things. So we are looking from that perspective. So it is all about awareness, creating the ecosystem, and based on that, planning our 2026 based on what we achieve on the 2025 this year.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I can't wait for LLMs that can cater to our underrepresented population groups in this region and low resource languages in this region. I've heard that you are playing a role in AI research in Asia as well.
We are doing that part. One of the launches would be Nebius Academy, where we want to bring people to learn about AI as well as technologies around it and so on. So Nebius Academy is there to help out. And I've been also talking to a lot of research institutes lately to make sure that how we can support them. So yes, we are, and also let me be aware, I'm 6 months into the market. I'm very open for any suggestions coming from any of my audience, as well as, meet us, and then we will see what we can do for you guys. Yes, the simple answer is that we want to develop that ecosystem for you guys to make sure that when the AI adoption happens on a broader level, the region is ready for it.
Sounds like Nebius is going to be a big part of powering the future in this region. Ranvish, this has been eye-opening. Any final words for our listeners, especially PMEBs trying to make sense of all this?
Well, that's any final thing is just, guys, keep reading all the latest and the best news around the AI world. Look at Nebius, and give us all the suggestion on how we can improve not just the region, but also the AI space. And watch out for inference and tokens rewards in the future, and the AI adoption from the enterprises.
That's right. AI infrastructure is not just for engineers anymore. Thank you so much, Ranvish.
You're welcome. Thank you, Lynn.
And he is Ranvish Vir, growth lead for Middle East and APAC at Nebius, which is an Amsterdam-headquartered AI infrastructure firm with a Nasdaq listing. I'm Lynn Lee, and you've been listening to Industry Insight on Money FM 89.3.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.